Good morning, kids. We are going to begin our math today in the Module 1 workbook. That's the green workbook that came in your supplies bag. And if you don't have that book ready, what you can do is pause this video, go get that book, and come back and open up to page 1. We are going to be looking at Lesson 1 problem set. So they say this is third grade and it's Module 1. And we're going to just start right off by talking a little bit about multiplication. Multiplication is simply when you have the same number that you add over and over and over and over again. So you're adding equal groups. In this first picture here, it tells us for number 1, fill in the blanks to make true statements. So we've got some images and then we've got some prompts. So for the letter A, they give us an equation that has the right side of the equation is missing. If you look over to item B, we've got a picture and it starts with a repeated adding equation where they give you 3 over and over and over again. So we're going to work our way through this, and I'm going to kind of just talk about a few examples, and then I'm going to turn you loose to do the assignment on your own. In this example here, we've got 3 hands, and each hand has 5 fingers. So the hands would be the groups with an equal number of fingers on each hand. So it's telling us 3 groups of 5. Okay, 3 groups of 5. Those are the fingers. And what they want over here is how many fingers do you have? Okay, so if we could just count them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. And that's a fine strategy, especially when the numbers are small. But as the numbers get larger, the big idea is, the more counting you do by ones, the more mistakes you can make for one, and the longer it takes. So multiplication is kind of a fast way to do some adding. We could also use a strategy of skip counting. We could say 5, 10, 15. We know that 3 groups of 5 equals 15. Now, another way that they're writing it here is 3 fives. Okay, so see the word is in fives, the word says fives, and you have 3 of those. So we've got a 5 here, we've got a 5 here, a second 5, and we've got a 5 here, a third 5. So 3 fives equals or is 15. And the way to write it using a multiplication equation is 3 times 5 equals 15. We've got the same concept here. It's a little bit harder to skip count by threes. At least we haven't practiced it. We could count by multiples of 3, 3, 6, 9, and I'm not going to give it away for you, but when we are repeated adding, you could count up as you go on. You could say 3. Okay, 3 more than 3 is going to be 4, 5, 6, and then 3 more than 6 is going to be 7, 8, 9. 3 more than 9 is going to be 10, 11, 12, and then 3 more than that is going to be 13, 14, 15. Huh, that's interesting. We've got 5 threes here, and that gives us 15. And over here, 3 fives gave us 15. I wonder what kind of conclusion we can draw from that information. Of course, we could go back to counting by ones. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. But like I said, the higher the numbers get, the longer that takes and the easier it is to make mistakes. So it's good for us to start practicing multiplying. So as we move on, you're going to see several problems like this. They get a little bit more advanced. And on page 2, they kind of change the format a little bit. One of the big things that you're going to notice, and we're going to transition kind of slowly into third grade, but in math for second grade, the teacher is literally allowed to read every item on every page to every single student. In third grade, it doesn't really work like that. In third grade, the big change moving from second grade to third grade is really that you're going to be responsible for reading a lot more of the information on your own. So it's going to be extra important that you're paying attention during our word study and during our reading lessons, and that also you're getting a lot of extra practice on your own. But I'll help you as much as I can. And in the beginning, we're going to take it easy, we're going to take it slow, and just do our best to help each other. So here, I'm going to go ahead and read number 2 for you. The picture below shows 2 groups of apples. Does the picture show 2 times 3? Explain why or why not. So they're giving you very specific instructions, and math is very instruction oriented. In general, if you can read the instructions and understand the instructions and follow the instructions, you're going to rock it. If you have trouble reading, that's a problem. If you have trouble with solving the math, if you have trouble understanding what you've read, then that's also a problem. And probably the biggest problem that most third graders have is that if you have trouble following instructions, then that's where things get really, really tricky. So let's make sure we understand this. Let's read it a second time. The picture below shows 2 groups of apples. Well, let's take a look at that. So I see one group that's in a circle and I see another group that's in a circle. Okay, so the picture below shows 2 groups of apples. Next, does the picture show 2 times 3? So we already talked about multiplication. What it means is repeated adding of the same number. Okay, so repeated adding of equal groups. So I'm wondering, this group here has 3 in it. This group here has 2 in it. I'm wondering what you're thinking about whether or not these are equal groups. So to properly answer this question, you have to answer this question. The actual question that's being asked is, does the picture show 2 times 3? So this kind of question is a yes or no question. So you should, in your answer, have yes or no. And you're not finished there. It says explain why or why not. And explaining your reasoning or your thinking can be a really challenging thing. But the good news is that you can do that a lot of different ways. You can write words to explain yourself. Sometimes words can get a little bit much, and these people who write these workbooks and worksheets, they don't really think about what a 7 or 8 or 9-year-old um, handwriting looks like. They hardly ever give you enough space to fully explain yourself. So oftentimes a picture is another good way to explain yourself, or even using equations would be a good way. Equations is just another word for a number sentence, if you've heard of that before. But in third grade we often try to use the word equation. We will say number sentence from time to time because you'll find that in the work that you're going to be doing. But you're not finished with this problem number 2 until you do what they say. So you can't just say no or yes and then move on. You have to actually complete what they ask you to do, which is explain why or why not. Okay, so here you're looking at a picture and trying to answer a question, and down here they tell you to draw a picture to show 2 times 3 equals 6. So they give you the answer. They tell you how many total things that you're going to have to draw here. They tell you the number of groups and the number of things in each group, but they're asking you to make the picture. So it's kind of a different way of thinking about the same concept. And then moving down to number 4, the way these workbooks work is generally they start with a simple version of what they're trying to get you to do, and they move to more and more and more complicated things. So as we move to the ends of the assignments, that's where you're going to see some of the more complicated problems. And if you struggle with these problems, that's totally fine. And if you need help with reading the problems, you should ask somebody. I'm always a good resource if I'm available. And um, the big idea is you can do this. You're capable, you're smart, you're powerful. Your mind is able to do things that you never dreamed it could do. And solving these problems is one of those things that you can do. So here in number 4, we've got Caroline, Brian, and Marta share a box of chocolates. They each get the same amount. Circle the chocolates below to show 3 groups of 4. Then write a repeated addition sentence and a multiplication sentence to represent the picture. Okay, it's a little bit tricky. That's a lot of words. It's a lot of words, and it's a picture, and nothing is in groups. It's just one group, and I see the number 3. I see the number 4. I'm not sure what I'm supposed to do with them. So you know what? I'm going to go back and just read it again and model this strategy of read and reread the text to make sure you fully understand what you're doing. So we've got Caroline, Brian, and Marta share a box of chocolates. Okay, now I'm going to think to myself, what do I know? What kinds of things can I say that I know about this situation? Well, I know that there are 3 people, Caroline, Brian, and Marta. And I also know that they're sharing something. Share in math is key. It's a key word that typically means sharing equally. And it's actually kind of code for a division problem. So I'm thinking maybe they want me to divide up this box of chocolates a certain way, maybe um, so that each of these 3 people get equal parts. Let's see. They each get the same amount. Oh, there it is. It tells me they're all going to get equal parts. So 3 people sharing the box of chocolates. So 3 groups, and I'm going to distribute out the chocolates to each of the 3 people and make sure they all get the same amount. Circle the chocolates below to show 3 groups of 4. Okay, so they tell me that I need 3 circles, which would represent the groups, and inside each of the circles, I need 4 chocolates. Okay, now that's one part of the problem. I'm not done until I finish. So a lot of times, kids are trained to like kind of look at the end and do that thing that's at the end. Well, they tell us to do something with our pencil right there in that 3rd sentence. Circle the chocolates below to show 3 groups of 4. You got to make sure you do that. And then there's another thing to do. And it's kind of tricky even what they ask you to do. It says, then write a repeated addition sentence and a multiplication sentence to represent the picture. So you have to do 2 more things, not just one more thing. You have to write a repeated addition sentence. That's first. And when they say sentence, they don't mean words. They mean an equation. They mean something plus something plus something equals something. And you write that in numbers and symbols. And then the next one is a multiplication sentence. Okay, so that's something times something equals something. And what you're going to find is we're going to talk about math in a sophisticated way throughout this school year. And I'm going to assign a cool video for you to watch that kind of tells you the parts of a multiplication problem. But I'll go ahead and tell you now too, the parts that you're multiplying together are called factors. And the result of multiplying the factors gives you the product. So you have factor times factor equals product. It's a little bit different than addition. In addition, you have addend plus addend plus addend plus addend equals a sum, S-U-M sum. We'll talk about that all year long. I'll be using those words all year long, but those words are important in 3rd grade, and you'll see them in the work that you're going to be doing. All right, I'm not going to give away too much of this. I am going to ask you to finish this today. So pages 1 and 2 are the problem